In the last video, we discussed how to manage time in PT. If you haven't watched it already, please go to the link in the description and watch it. It will help you to understand how time management works in PT. In this video, I'm going to talk about reorder paragraphs, which is considered one of the most difficult questions in the test. And the reason for this is many times they learn tricks which work on one question, and when they try to apply the same trick on another question, unfortunately it does not work, and they start doubting the things they learn from different sources. Or in other cases, the knowledge is so fragmented that you can't really think of all the ideas to apply on a question at the same time. So you know a lot of things, but when it comes to answering the question, you do not know which one to use or which one will help you to answer the question. But when somebody explains the same thing to you, things again start making sense. In this video, I'll be helping you to understand how to answer your paragraph questions by doing a few questions from our website. If you're interested, keep watching. Okay, so let's see how we can answer a question like this. So let's say I got a question like this, and there are 4 sentences on the left-hand side that I'll have to drag to the right-hand side in the correct order. Now, in the exam, practically speaking, I never go in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4 because most of the times it's not possible. What usually happens is I drag a few sentences to the right-hand side, I read them, and I feel like maybe they are not in the right order, then I change them. So although for this particular example, in order to make it easy for me to explain and easy for you to understand, I will go in the order of first to last sentence. If you're not able to put the sentences in that order as I do here, and you usually change the order later on when you feel like maybe what you have done is not making sense, that's perfectly fine, because that is how most of us answer questions in the exam. So you do not need to feel worried about that. Okay, for this question, for example, after going through everything, I feel like this must be the first sentence. Now, what is my rationale behind that? The rationale is this one here says a student, and in all the other sentences, I can see name of the student. So that means this is the most general statement, whereas the rest are giving me more specific information because they contain the name of this student. So by using the logic of using general idea before this specific idea, I'm just dragging this sentence to this side. Now, among the rest of the sentences, I can see this one says Miss Bocking, and this one says Julia Bocking, and this one again says Miss Bocking. Now, one thing I know is in order to refer to a person by using their surname, I first have to use their full name. And then only after that we start referring to those people by their surname. An example of this is when we say Mr. David Smith, from next time we might just refer to this person by saying Mr. Smith. And that is the reason why I know that this sentence in particular must come before these two, where the person is being referred is Miss Bocking. That's why this will go here for me as the second sentence. Now I have only 2 sentences left, and both of them say Miss Bocking. And now I'm not getting any further clues without reading the complete sentences, which means I will try to read the complete sentence so that I understand what they're saying. And the first one here says, there is no program like this in Australia, Miss Bocking said, who devised the project as the final component of her community education degree at the university. And the next one says, having worked as a literacy tutor with teenagers, Ms. Bocking saw the need for good attitudes towards reading to be formed early on with the help of more male role models. So far, I have made only 1 pair, and there are still 2 sentences left on the left-hand side. But the problem for me right now is, without reading these sentences completely, I don't think I'll be able to put them in the right order. And I can't see any quick clues here which can help me to put the sentences in the right order on the right hand side. So what I will do now is I'll read these 2 sentences more carefully so that I can see if logically I can put them in the right order. There is no program like this in Australia, Miss Bocking said, who devised the project as the final component of her community education degree at the university. And the next sentence is, having worked as a literacy tutor with teenagers, Ms. Bocking saw the need for good attitudes towards reading to be formed early on with help of more male role models. Now, if I compare the information in these 2 sentences, I can clearly see that the first sentence is telling me when Ms. Bocking devised this project, and the next one tells me the background, why this project was devised, and usually the reasons are given after the statements are made. And because of that reason, I see that the first sentence here should be the third one. And having worked as a literacy tutor with teenagers, this should be the last one. Again, in this example, I'm going to use similar kind of ideas that I used in the previous one. If you remember, in the previous question, I put the sentences in the right order with the help of the full names and the surname, or nouns and pronouns. And I'm going to apply the same concept in this question as well. Not just that, I will tell you about one more concept, which is a logical continuity concept that will help you to answer other similar questions in the future. If you look at this question here, I can see that there are two sentences which have names, and then there is one more which says, he convinced Professor Fitzgerald, and no link was found, and the women were asked to fill in a questionnaire. So while skimming through these sentences, I have had an idea that this is about research. And that's why now it will be a little easier for me, because I know logically in what order research is done. Now, those of you who are not familiar with the concept of research, remember, you start with a question, you do the study, you collect the data, you analyze the data, and usually you publish your finding or present your finding. So in this case as well, there is a very important clue here. Byron is doctor and Fitzgerald is professor. And here, Dr. Byron has long held that there is a link between diet and acne. He convinced Professor Fitzgerald. He here means Dr. Byron. So first, the name goes here, Dr. Byron, and then he convinces Professor Fitzgerald to do a study. Now, in what order do you think this study will be done? Before you check the answers or watch the rest of the video, try to think in what order this study will be done based on what I told you about research a few minutes ago. Of course, you start with a question, and then you collect the data, you analyze the data, you get the finding, and then you present your findings or publish your finding. And this question again will be answered in the same order. So here, first, Professor Fitzgerald studied more than 47,000 women. And how did he do this? He asked the women to fill in a questionnaire about the diet and about their suffering from acne. And so what happened? He studied more than 47,000 women. It just says studied more than 47,000 women. So this one, where it is giving you more specific information, how this study was done, will come after this general information. And because now the study is complete, they will have finding at the end. So this sentence will be the last sentence. So you see that in case of research, you usually have the order as the question, data collection, data interpretation, findings, and after that, if there is another sentence, maybe that will be about presentation or publication of data. So you can see that in most of the reader paragraph questions, it's about grammatical continuity or logical continuity. And what that means is you need to think about in what order you would put the sentences, grammatically and logically. Grammatically, you have to look at some grammatical connecting devices like pronouns, linking expressions, use of articles, so that you can see which information comes after the other, or which information cannot come before the other. On the other hand, logical continuity means in your exam, different kinds of paragraphs and passages are used. So a very common type of paragraph, for example, is paragraph about research. And in research, the order is almost all the time same. It starts from a research question, and in order to answer that question, you start collecting data, and then once you have enough data, you start analyzing it, and then you get finding, and then you decide what to do with that finding. Just like that, there are not just research-based questions, there are other types of questions as well. For example, there are timeline-based questions, there are cause and effect types of questions, there are deductive paragraphs, and so on. Making yourself familiar with the grammatical devices which connect the ideas together, as well as learning about different types of paragraphs which are used in academic field, help you to get familiar with these types of questions and the way people organize information. This in long term helps you not just to answer these questions in PT, but also make yourself more logical and more presentable as well, so that it becomes easy for other people to understand your ideas, your concepts, as well as your entire presentation. I hope this video about reader paragraph was helpful. If you also think the same, then please hit the like button and share it with your friends. And if you like the videos I make and want me to make more videos, please write in the comments that you want me to cover in my next video. And if you do not want to miss those videos you requested, then click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you get notification when I publish something. Thank you for watching this video. If your exam is coming up, all the best for that, and have a good time until my next video.